Hello, friends. Thanks so much for coming through. It's been a long time since you heard anything from me, and I hope this finds you well and happy and healthy. I'm sure that you, like me, have had your world turned upside down the last couple of years because of COVID, both personally and professionally. On a personal level, I'm a cancer survivor, and my wife was a critical care nurse through SARS. And so when COVID first reared its ugly head in early 2020, we hunkered down early. We were very early adopters to total isolation. We were being very careful. And between phase 1 and phase 2, we made a snap decision to try and move closer to our kids. We found a furnished home on 20 acres. We were able to sterilize it and make it safe. We found a tenant that was going to live in our place, and we made a temporary move to be closer to our kids so we could include them in our bubbles in case we needed them or they needed us. And fortunately for us, so far, it's gone really well. Well, probably half the family has had COVID, but no one's really had it bad or suffered through it. And my wish for you would be to be able to say the same thing. I'm sure we're all going to get it at some point, so hopefully we're not going to suffer too badly. On a professional level, my local resale business dried right up because most of my clientele were like me. They'd gotten old with me. And I was saying to everyone, if you don't need to sell, now's not the time to do it. Just stay put. You don't want strangers in your house, and you don't want to be going into strangers' houses. So just stay put if you can. And they all could. So that part of my business dried up completely. The stone home side of it was even more interesting because over the last, it had the same thing about if you don't need to sell it, don't. That was part of it. But the other part was, over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen inventories in the major centers like Toronto and Ottawa shrinking. And as those inventories shrunk, the values of other properties went up. So property values in the city just went through the roof, and people were building tons and tons and tons of equity. When COVID hit and people didn't have to go to the office anymore, they didn't want to ride the subways, they didn't want to go into busy stores, they wanted to get out of Dodge. So those city people started fanning out all over Ontario. Any house on a couple of acres, they were just buying it. They had lots of cash, lots of equity, lots of ways to raise money. They were paying for houses sight unseen, no conditions, and at higher prices than anyone local could understand. I've had so many conversations with agents out in the middle of nowhere saying, I can't believe the checks people are writing for houses they haven't even looked at. It's just unbelievable. And so in that case, no one needed the specialized marketing that I spent 14 years developing to help them sell their houses. They were just selling automatically. A lot of folks who'd never even wanted a stone home were buying them. And that we may see some of those come back on the market again, though, because I've always said to people, when you buy a stone home, you're not buying a home, you're buying a hobby. It's a labor of love. And I've got a hunch a lot of folks didn't have the love when they bought lately. And so then it's just going to be labor. We may see some of those back on the market again. But the world's evolving again now. I'm not suggesting we're coming out of COVID, but I know a lot of folks are becoming more comfortable with the idea of living with COVID. And that's one thing. But more importantly, we're seeing the economy on the edge of something that could get pretty ugly. We're seeing there's two parts to it. One is inflation. And inflation's taken off like a rocket. And if you, like me, are putting gas in your car or food on your table, you're probably having a hard time understand how the government's coming up with a 7% inflation rate. Because it feels like in our house, we're paying a whole lot more than 7% this year. We're paying more this year than we did last year or the year before. And the only way to curb inflation, the experts tell us, is to raise interest rates. And interest rates, in my opinion, have been held artificially low for almost 12, maybe 13 years because of politics. It's not just our current government. Every government for the last 15 years has been working really hard at keeping interest rates unbelievably and unrealistically low. The result of that has been a relatively strong economy, if you could say that, but it's also gotten a lot of people into a whole lot of debt. And the only way to stop inflation is to raise interest rates. We've started to see that happening now. I've got a hunch we got a long way to go before it's going to stop. You're listening to a fellow who had a 25% interest rate from the Federal Business Development Bank in what seems like 3 lifetimes ago. And we had that mortgage for 2 years and before we could refinance, and it was really hard. And we refinanced at 15%, and at that time, 15% seemed like the money was almost free. That's a different story. The world we're living in today, though, is we're going to see interest rates go up. It's not going to kill anybody, but it's going to slow things down. It's going to give buyers the opportunity to be a little bit more cautious. It's going to give sellers the necessity of being a little more realistic with their price. In fact, in the last 5 weeks, I've been getting phone calls from sellers saying, Dave, I've been on the market now for almost a month and I've only had about 5 showings. I haven't seen any offers. Dave, I've been on the market now for almost 6 weeks and I've had 2 offers, but they've been really low. Dave, I'm not sure my real estate agent really understands the kind of house I have because I'm not getting the showings that I expected to get. And stone homes have always been a challenge to market, and that's the niche that I fit into. And today, I'm really pleased to be able to have a new house to put on the site. So the link below this video, there's one, but there's about 3 or 4 others that I'm working on. And it's going to take, it may take a little while for people to adjust to the new reality or follow the new reality as we walk down the path, but it's starting to happen now, folks. So my intention is not to pester you. I want to share with you, though. I'm excited to be able to share something, so I'm going to be sharing things as often as I can. I don't know what the future is going to be, but I think now more than ever, if you're a seller of stone homes, it's important that you get proper exposure, which is where I can help, but also make sure that you're priced where you need to be priced. People who buy stone homes typically aren't too concerned about the financing of them, but they want to know they're getting a fair deal. And that's where the rub's going to come in, because in the last 2 years, prices have inflated so much that a lot of sellers or a lot of buyers are probably going to be looking at it and saying, well, I can afford that much, but I'm not sure that's how much I want to pay anymore. And that's where sellers are going to need some very focused, expert, knowledgeable advice. And that's what me and my team can provide to you. So if you're a seller, I would suggest to you, give me a call, reach out to me, and we'd have a conversation. I'd love to be able to do that. If you're a buyer, don't necessarily assume there's going to be bargains, because I don't think that's going to be the case at all. But you do certainly have the opportunity now for a little more shopping, a little more research, and to have a better understanding of what it is you're actually making your purchase of. And again, that's something that we can help you with. So check out the video below, or check out the website below for the house that's on the market. And also, it's been so long since I've been in touch with you. There's a link below that to update your information, your credentials, to give me permission to send you stuff. I'd like to be able to know that my database is up to date. If you don't mind doing that, that'd be great. In the meantime, enjoy your summer, and I hope to speak to you real soon. Thanks.